Keep them wild. Keep us safe.
Western Spring Television, ours it is.
Good morning, world. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, great viewers all across the globe. What a day, what a month, what a week rather, what a month and what a year these has been. You're welcome, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the last edition of this program for the month of December. Firstly, for the week, for the month, and of course, for this year. It's been quite a year. Year 2023, this is the last one for this year. I want to thank you for always being with us all year, all month, all day, every week, every weekday. Thank you very much. You have been the VIP. You are the reason why we're here, churning out the information, having the analysis and the conversations, and it's geared towards having a better and a working society, a society that we are proud of, and that is our nation. Good people, great nation, Nigeria. FEMI Ojo is my name, and I welcome you to this very special one. The program promises to be very, very interesting as ever, if not more than usual. We look at the headlines as usual, and the other side of that, we then get talking. You know, I started with what a year. This has been January 1, 2023 to this day, December 29th, 2023. We look into what has happened during the year. But then please do to follow us on our social media platforms, X, Facebook, and Instagram as well. And we're live on our YouTube channel. And Miss EVELYN, good morning.
Good morning, Femi. How do you do today?
Very well.
Good morning, people. Thank you for joining us on the last installment of Morning Spring for the week, for the month, and for the year 2023. It has been a great ride with you, and we must appreciate you for being a part of our world all through this 365 days. My name is EVELYN OHIOLEI. Welcome on board.
Of course, welcome on board. Many things to talk about. In fact, the last 24 hours or 48 or 72, you know, has always come, and it has come with its own event. Matters arising as well. But firstly, we look at the papers, and that's the next thing now. Please stay with us. All right, you're welcome back. Heading to the Nigerian Tribune right now. The Nigerian Tribune is our first stop. Plateau killings, human lives seem to mean nothing anymore in Nigeria. JNR Shatima hosts town hall meeting with Plateau leaders, stakeholders, reps, minority caucus wants end to senseless killings. Senseless indeed. Page 12. Agriculture, farmers generate 1.28 billion naira. Outcome of Kano State Agro-Pastoral Development Project SAA intervention. And NRC says railway tracks being vandalized in Mushi and Oshodi. Page 23. Court extends interim order against INEC and PDP over 25 defected Rivers lawmakers. Ayedatiwa leads Ondo ESCO members on condolence visit to Akeredolu's widow in Ibadan. And the riders gives reasons Akeredolu cannot be forgotten, nor tribute for ex-governor on page 2. And of course, you have the man there, the new governor of Ondo State, paying his condolences to the family of Aketi, the late Aketi. The widow is there. That's Mrs. Betty Akeredolu with all the relatives. Right, 20.3 million out of school children, 36 states. FCT failed to access 68.7 billion naira grant in 18 years. Failing to access the grant, you beg. Why are they not doing that? With riders only Osun, Niger, Taraba, Sokoto, Enugu, Ondo launched 10.6 billion counterpart fund in 2023. Page 5, and Falana 6 direct distribution threatens litigation. All right, that it on the Nigerian Tribune, and of course talks with the value of our commentaries. Is at this point that I bring in Ladeji Alabi. Ladeji, good to see you again. Good morning.
Morning, Femi. Morning.
Thank you for joining us on the last edition for 2023.
We thank God for life.
And thank you for being here all year.
It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much. It's towards having a better and a working nation that we are proud of. That's why we do this every day. Now, very quickly, plateau killings. Ladeji, the GNI are saying human lives seem to mean nothing anymore in Nigeria. You agree with that?
Of course, yes, I do. While growing up, at least while we're a bit younger than this, when you hear someone is dead, it sends this kind of shiver to you. You know, in fact, if they ask you to go and pick something from the room alone in the night, you don't want to go because you always feel maybe, you know, we see death as something very scary. When you hear people die, you have this sober reflection. But currently, what we have in the country, you know, there is virtually no day. I'm subjected to being corrected, but there's virtually no day that we read our national dailies that we don't talk about death. And, you know, when you talk about death, if you are talking about maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, you can say, okay, maybe it's still minimal. Now, mind you, lives of every Nigerian is very, very important.
That's right.
Do you get? But now we are talking about 195 and still counting. Remember, I said it on the show yesterday that we were at 160 or thereabout. But immediately after the show, I got online again. Some of the major newspapers said they've counted 195 people and scores injured too. So it is senseless and it is something that must stop. Lives of people do not mean anything. And that is why you see even our political leaders, you see, me, I always have to say something about them. Because when you see, I will still go back to the governor of Plateau State.
Yeah.
That same day, this man posted something about they hosting a concert in Plateau State with Wyclef Jean coming around. You know, in a society where people's life matters, Femi, whatever they have that day will be cancelled, irrespective of if it is just 2 or 5 people that were killed. But we are talking about 20 communities ransacked by assailant, killed them. And the sad thing is that some people are trying to bring the narrative of farmers' elders clashes. No, this is not it. This is a serious case of attack on people that were helpless. And you know, a lot of youth from that area have been coming out to say, see, we even sent out SOS to the military around there, to the police, to all those people. They did not get any help. And we are talking about close to 200 people dying.
Human lives.
You know, it's terrible. And the best thing is we just need to stop all this rhetoric. We are going to bring them to book. We are going to, thank God, at least we've had less of I am aware now. We need to really be up and doing. We need to work more on our intelligence gathering.
Especially prevention.
Apparently we need to, you know, because we are not at war. And it scares you that even countries that are at war, they are not counting 195 dead bodies in a day, or you know, just like that. We now make people's life feel like they're animals.
All right. That will be all for the front page of the Nigerian Tribune.
All right, we move straight to the Punch newspaper for today. Plateau massacre, invaders right community, threaten fresh attacks, UN demands probe. With double riders here, attack notice sent to community. Soldiers got 37 distress calls during Saturday's attack. Middle Belt Forum chieftain says, and please treat intelligence reports on impending attacks. UN Human Rights Chief seeks end to killings and impunity. And we have the picture of Cesar Toshuala there with the president and the first lady presenting a CAF award to the president. Tinubu hails Oshuala, says Nigerian women resilient, shining globally. Constabulary tarnishing police image needs separate uniform, Arase says. And 37 jailed for internet fraud in Ogun, Oyo. Revive moribund farm settlement. Afe Babalola tells Tinubu. Let's move to the top corner of the Punch newspaper for today. 5 Akeredolu's men quit Ayedatiwa's cabinet. Governor shops for deputy. FG can generate 10 trillion naira from non-oil assets, tax panel chair says. And combat insecurity. FG tells 47 new generals. Those are headlines making waves on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. So many talking points here, Ladeji. Really, it's really dicey for me to pick which one for you to actually talk on. But let me move to this one. Constabulary tarnishing police image needs separate uniform. Arase. One we want to ask, is it that they do not go through the normal training they are supposed to go through? Why are they now being set aside as the prodigal sons in court?
Beg your pardon for that. The constabularies, I think they are not. They also go through police training, but not as deep as the regular police guys. And you see them on the road. Also, they are the ones that most times doesn't have guns on them because they are not licensed. So they are not trained, to hold guns. But I still feel it boils down to the kind of orientation they get. If you get to a working environment and this place, I can't try nonsense. Even if you are just an intern there, you give yourself sense. Now, but if the regular police guys, see, I don't just want them to put all these blames on the constabularies. The regular police guys also do these things. They stand on the road, they collect money. There was a day I was thinking, while we were growing up, let me go back to that again. When we see police on the road, in fact, they collect that money with a bit of shame, there is a way they call it Sowokuduru there. But now, they do it openly. They give you change. They will give you, they will tell you, they have names for all these white, funny, all those things. It shows how our system has gone really down. And I'm not talking about constabularies now. I'm talking about guys in police uniform, guys in Mopo uniform. They collect money on the road. So it is not about the constabularies alone. It's about the regular police. It's about, we having a reorientation of these guys. And also, let the government fund these guys. See, many of the money we are wasting away buying vehicles for National Assembly members, buying this, buying that for them. If we spend those money on the critical aspect of our society, we would be better for it. Imagine we spend more money on education. Imagine we spend more money on security. Go to the police barrack there at Okifia. I cannot sleep a night there. I'm not being proud, but that's the reality. Because you look at the environment, you wonder how someone that wakes up from here every day, you want him to be productive at work. It is not possible. It is not. So it's not about just putting the blames on the constabularies alone. Let us look at how we can rejig our policing system. Let us look at how we can fund them well. Let us look at how at times you see Nigerian police and you compare seeing them with other police on the road. I've been to Benin Republic where I saw a police kitted on the road and I was like, no, I want to do police. But I got back to Nigeria, I said, no, I'm not doing it again. Because, you see the uniform on them, you see the uniform on Nigerian police and you'll be like, wow, Are you treating these people as humans, or you just treat them as go on the road and go and fend for yourself? So we need a reorientation from the police hierarchy. The money that is meant for the guys, let it get to the guys.
If you can do this in 1 minute, 5 Akeredolu's men quit Ayedatiwa's cabinet governorships for deputy.
Well, of course, we hope that another person will be lucky to become the vice deputy governor to Governor Lucky. But for Akeredolu's men, quitting now, it is expected. I expected it. Why? Because many of them fought Ayedatiwa dirty during the tussle of the governor should hand over to him, the governor should not hand over to him. And it brings us to the say that in politics, there is no permanent enemy, there is no permanent friend. You just have to be careful of your utterances. I saw many of them even go the route of saying, that's how Ondo South people does. Ayedatiwa, they are traitors, they are this. No, you don't need all those. Yes, we know you guys want to, protect your pot of soup. But even at that, not at the expense of the state. Now, Ayedatiwa is the governor. Nobody is happy with the death of late Governor Akeredolu, but that's the reality of everybody. The person that is crying for the dead will die one day too. So Ayedatiwa is the governor now. Guys are dropping. They said they can't work with him because apparently he would not trust them working with him. That's just the reality. So I expect him also to get, and of course he has appointed about 5 aides the same day. His chief press secretary, his essay on photography and all. We expect that a couple of names will also, but I just want to see how he would manage the relationship with the House of Assembly. All right. They should not put on those state people, in another political crisis that would, because he only have about maybe a year or thereabout to govern the state. That's if he gets the Progressive Congress ticket to run.
Okay, thank you so much, Ladeji, and that will be all for the Punch.
And by the way, with this gale of resignation that we are seeing on those states, we hope we won't get to see these same people go to the Aso Rock again for another resolution, and the president will tell them, you know what I'm talking about.
Of course.
And inform them that all these commissioners that have resigned should be represented.
My problem with that is...
Because we have been here before severally.
Yes, of course. Just recently, it's not even just recently, River State, but I hope the president, I hope he has a special advisor on legal matters, advise him that what you are doing is against the constitution. You don't have that power to tell a governor. He's elected the same way you are elected. Do you get? So you don't have any power over him. And it's sad that we are in Nigeria where everybody goes, that's why I have issues with you saying you are going to the government, the president's house to go and pay him with as who, as what? All right. Imagine Joe Biden in Pennsylvania and the governor of New York, governor of California said they are going. Who cares even if he's in Ohio or wherever?
In Nigeria, it might not be constitutional. It is not constitutional, but I think it's more like a convention. It's a routine.
Okay.
All right. To the Daily Independent right now. Daily Independent newspaper. UN deeply alarmed by deadly Plateau communities attack. Asks federal government to probe incident thoroughly, hold culprits to account. Gunmen have sent letter of impending attack. Middle Belt Forum. Court extends order restraining INEC from conducting election to replace Rivers Assembly lawmakers. It shows something is brewing in Rivers State. We intend to keep our promise of 3,500 naira per bag of cement. Boah. Good intention about the action now. Again, federal government to short section of 3rd Mainland Bridge for repairs. Right, it was opened because of the ULITA, by the way. Maybe it will be shut back to continue with the repair. Shetima calls for peaceful coexistence among citizens, and INEC elevates 55 deputy directors, 5,141 others. Kano Police NAB 9-member abduction syndicate rescues 7 minors. And the big one here, CBN investigator warns TTB investors of dire consequences. CBN investigator warns TTB investors of dire consequences. Riders reject their request to delay appearance until 2024. Threatens Titan Trust Bank, UBN risk losing shares. The federal government top strip Akeredolu Ondo commissioner resigns. Makinde declares a 3 days mourning flag. 3 days mourning rather, flag to fly at half-mast. That's Oyo State showing solidarity with Ondo State, by the way. And SIM NIN linkage, telco subscriber base, revenue may record further decline. That's on Daily Independent. Alaje, CBN investigator, warns TTB investors of dire consequences, rejects their request to delay appearance until 2024, threatens Titan Trust Bank, UBN risk losing shares to FG. G. Mobaze has been talking tough, and it seems something deep is about to be unraveled. Alaje.
Well, yes, there has been investigation upon investigation at the CBN. We've seen some news coming out of CBN, not so good news. But my only concern about this is I want to go back to the report they've actually released before, saying it was Emefiele, the president was not aware of the change in currency. He did not approve the change in currency. But we saw the picture of where the president, showed us the new Naira note and all. So if he's not approved of that, my grouse about that is you don't want to just make the president feel like, the former president feel like a saint. He is in the know. He approved of it.
He even made a television broadcast. Of
course, yes, he made it. So why is he making it look as if it was only Emefiele and others that did the job? So whatever they want, whatever investigation they want to do that will not have the former president questioned to, then whatever they are coming out with, or whatever investigation, whatever warnings they are giving to anybody, nobody will take them seriously, because there is no way you investigate Emefiele. There is no way you investigate Farouka, this woman that even shamelessly went to Twitter to go and post that an attack on her personality, of you that spent billions of naira feeding children that were at home with their parents during COVID-19, and you said they're attacking your personality, but our own conversation is for another day. I just feel this investigator do the right thing.
This one is about the accusation of Trust Bank and UBN.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Saying it was Emefiele who used his proxies to acquire these banks. And that the process didn't go through the normal way.
If you know the atrocities that goes into bank accusation in Nigeria, you will run. Also, there was this almost the same issue with Skybank. A lot of this back and forth, somebody using, his proxy, somebody, they are my friends, let me just sell. And, the big guys in the banking sector also, once they see they want to, they want to run you street, let me just use the street balance. They know how they run their things. They know how they make their friends in the CBN to work for them. So it is just in the best interest of the customers of those banks, because also we've heard that the CBN want to, reverse some of the former policy, the capital base of these banks and all, just to protect the customers. Please do the right thing. Nigerians are going through a lot. So don't let people that have their money in banks also have to start running kizzy.
Yeah. Although the government have said everything is healthy, whatever goes through, no customer will lose their funds. But and it's very important that happens. And we don't want to go the Societe Generale route, the People's Bank route.
Savannah, all those.
Or Savannah Bank again. Yes, that's all for the Daily Independent.
All right, we move to the Guardian newspaper for today, and we have a big picture of the president of Liberia, George Weah. There is the man of the year, and with the headline, George Weah and Majesty of Democracy. You may want to get onto that and read that article for yourself. Away from that, plot to killings, U.S., France seek arrest of perpetrators as death toll hits 200. Fresh worries as 20 electricity plants face hurdles. More resignations loom as Ayodatiwa takes charge in Ondo. Court extends interim order against INEC PDP over defected Rivers lawmakers. That particular one is on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper for today. Alaje, very quickly, let me take you on the story, the big one here, George Weah and the Majesty of Democracy, Man of the Year. There are people that have said he deserves it. Some says he doesn't deserve to be called the Man of the Year. maybe because he actually considered defeat, in the last election. It's unlikely of
African leaders
to lose an election and just say, okay, I've lost. It's the will of the people, and I'm going to step aside. I mean, the last person that did it, that also got this kind of accolades, is our former president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan.
And in fact, he went the Jonathan way before the election was concluded.
But the people against him really are saying, this man didn't deliver on his campaign promises. He didn't make our country better. The fact that he conceded defeat doesn't make him the man of the year. Your thoughts?
Well, the man of the year, what they are giving to him is not maybe about governance. It's not the way he ran the country. But because, like you mentioned, this is 2023, but we still live in Africa as if we are in the Stone Age. In Africa, it is not common, even though yesterday we saw a finance minister in, I think, Gambia or Tanzania or somewhere that was, seen in a video collecting money, resigned. And a particular news platform posted his picture alongside our brother in Kano, former governor of Kano, Gaduje. And, his picture, he was smiling like, you do that thing, but yeah, we know they do more. It is funny that when people do the list of things we expect from them, we celebrate. Now, conceding defeat is also part of the democratic process. If you see, okay, the people have made their choice, and you agree that the process is the process, it has, like Jonathan, I was reading part of his book that he wrote. He said, while he was seated, that his aides were with him, and he went into his study. Yeah. And he give me the phone, put the phone call through to the president-elect, and he said, the moment he congratulated Buhari, he saw a peace. He said, because they were both silent for a couple of minutes. He said, and he told him, see, let's set up a meeting to know how the transition process is. That's the standard practice of democracy. It shouldn't be what we give someone the Man of the Year award for because he did. But because in Africa, we've seen people in power since 1988. A child born in 1988 should be around 35 or 36 years now. And someone has been the president of a country. And the funniest thing, these countries are not developing. All they do for themselves is to, get so much money that they buy houses wherever they want. So for George Weah, one thing is, did he deliver on his campaign promises? Another thing is, because he conceded defeat, he agreed that because it happened in the case of Laurent Gbagbo and Alassane Ouattara in Ivory Coast. Don't forget that Jonathan had to come to Nigeria for asylum, but hand over power. It is common with African leaders that they want to sit tight. I don't want to leave power, and it is because we give them so much power. Power corrupt, and absolute power corrupt absolutely.
Does this buttress the point that in Africa we run majorly not a democratic system, but a monarchical kind of democracy?
Of course, that's why you see governors leaving their state to go and pilgrimage to be president.
Not again. Ladiji, thank you for your take and your thoughts.
That will be all for the Guardian newspaper.
That's right. And thank you, Ladiji, for being here. Thank you for 2023. Maybe you are the newspaper review 2023 Man of the Year. By the way.
We hope you're going to accept that.
I'm not accepting anything.
You're not.
For now.
This is not open to negotiation. By the way. Thank you. Very much. Of course, have for yourself a very good. How many days remaining now? 2 days.
2 days.
Enjoy the rest of your year. By the way,
thank you.
We'll see you on Monday on the New Year Day. You'll be here as well. God keeping us. All right, now we'll go on this break, and when we'll come back, we take a look at 2023 in retrospect. Now, what has happened? What all year this has been, especially the critical sectors of our daily lives. What has happened January to December, and of course we do the best that we can. You don't want to go anywhere. Please stay with us.
Ahmadu Bello, a Prince Royal, was born 6th of December 1910 at Raba Village, Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. His father was a district head and heir apparent to the Sultanate throne from the house of Usmanu Danfodio, a religious and social reformer who brought the Habib dynasty under the Fulani Caliphate in the beginning of the 19th century. Ahmadu Bello raised the bar of political consciousness in participation when, in 1944, he engineered the establishment of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) as the first political party in northern Nigeria and the rallying point for politicians in the region before independence. History will not forget Ahmadu Bello for his charisma and political sagacity, which provided easy passage for his kinsmen to assume political and administrative positions in Nigeria's post-independence era. The distinguished elder statesman and Sardauna of Sokoto has his face on his country's 200 naira currency as a mark of honor to one of the architects of Nigeria's independence. Western Spring Television identifies Ahmadu Bello as a watershed character in history.
All right, you're welcome back. And as we said earlier, the conversation is about the year 2023, the year ending. And, you know, what a year this has been from every critical sector of our lives, from politics to governance, education, health, very importantly, security. You know, we look into these critical sectors as well. If time permits, art, entertainment, the Nigerians that have done well for themselves, putting the name of the country, you know, on the global stage, in sport as well. Many things are really happening right now. But talking about our economy, which is what really concerns most persons, you know, either the micro or the medium or the micro scale kind of business, you know, here in Nigeria. The policies of government, the strategies, the pathway, and both national and the subnationals as well. How have we fared, especially in 2023? You know, we look into these. Talking about the economic performance of the nation in 2023 and looking at the year in retrospect now, we look into this year. We are being joined right now by the Chief Economist at SPM Professionals, and he's a fellow of International Management Consultants Board and also a fellow of the Institute of Economists here in Nigeria. I'm talking about Mr. Paul Alaje. Mr. Alaje, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you so very much for having me. Compliment of the season to the viewers in the entire Nigeria, especially those in Osun State and the entire Nigeria, and of course the globe at large. Thank you so much for having me once again.
Thank you. A compliment of the season to you too. Good to see you again. It's been a while.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
All right. And of course, in the studio as well, we have policy and public affairs analyst. Of course, he is an academic himself, Dr. Oluyemi Omotosho. Doctor, good to have you here.
Thank you very much. Compliment of the season.
Wish you all the best. And back to Mr. Alaje right now. Let's stay with you. You know, looking at the year in retrospect now, you know, this year, economically speaking, how will you describe the year? You know, the policies of government all year, the Naira redesign, the cashless policy, the removal of fare subsidy and its attendant, you know, effect on the people, the performance of the state as well, the federal government at the national level, and even the states. Looking at all of these, there was this state of the state performance released by budget, and we see the performance of the state, the expenditure-wise, the generation of revenue, looking at all of these. But let's start with the state of the state performance, because most of the times, many persons have said, we pay too much attention to what is happening at the federal level, that we don't take the state and we don't put more responsibility or put pressure on them to deliver. So give us a sense of what has happened this year so far. Some of those things have reeled out, especially throughout our states, and where they come in to making the lives of the people better.
So the State of the State report is out. Before the State of the State report is out, there are about 4 organizations that have been reporting what has been happening as regards the activity of the state, the expenditure, their revenues, their IGR, and it has been revealed that there are several states, and I can't state that about 30 of those states that cannot survive without the federal government. In spite of humongous opportunities that is available to states, I can tell you that these states they are finding it really very challenging to perform and to lead their people out of penury, poverty, and deprivation. This is what is common to all the states. Virtually all the states have huge debts. That's one. 2, some of the states were able to improve what they allocate to capital expenditure, but some of the states even have major reduction in capital expenditure. We also notice that some states have challenges with leakages. You could see a state where over 52% reduction in capital expenditure. In fact, what they generated in revenue has also reduced in terms of high GR. So most states have this heavy reliance on what is coming in from Abuja, and I mean from FAC. And that is why perhaps the governors were among those who championed the removal of subsidy for the survival of Nigeria. Yes, subsidy will be removed someday. The question will be, why should we put the cart before the horse? So that I don't say so many things together almost at the same time, the state of the state as we speak, we only have 6 states plus the FCT that are viable components, viable organization of viable states as we speak. So here is this is the real challenge that we are faced with as a people. And if I want to mention line by line, I can say, well, manageably 2 or 2.5 are productive, if you like, within the Southwest region. So 2 or 2.5, manageably 3 of the 6, manageably 3 are productive, or those that we can pass from Southwest. In South, you have 2. Then in the entire North, you want to ask what is happening. A state like Nasarawa State that has over 30 mineral resources that are in high demand globally. Why do we find it very difficult as citizens of Nasarawa to, convert some of these wealth into prosperity? And when you go to the look and county of Nasarawa, I can tell you, there are Chinese, there are people, there are foreign national. I don't want to mention, I'm sorry I mentioned a country that are already making revenues, that are already exploiting the soil of Nasarawa to bring mineral resource out. Let's say with Osun State, where I believe this broadcast is happening. There are gold, in Osun State. And not just that, there are other mineral resources. Why do we still have humongous financial concerns in that state, and it is difficult to boost significantly capital expenditure for the states, in Osun State? So leave Osun State. If you go again to Niger State capital allocation reduced significantly for 2022, because that is the year that budget review, and that is the year most organization review. So I can tell you that for state, most of the chief executive in state have not gotten their footing correctly, at least 30 of them, regarding the economic management of their state. And the goal of every state is to lead their people out of poverty, out of penury, out of deprivation. So when you see states that are not allocating enough to capital expenditure, those states are also not generating enough IGR. They have humongous debt concerns. What will be consistent with the state is high poverty. What will be consistent with them is that people will be generally dissatisfied with the economic realities they are faced with in their state. If you take that to what has happened in Nigeria within the last 12 months, I can tell you Nigeria shouted Happy New Year amid concerns that people cannot give offering in cash in their churches because of policy of Naira design. President Muhammadu Buhari, sometimes later in January, and I remember I had this conversation with your colleague on your sister station on radio, where he said it would now allow for 200 Naira notes, old notes, to still be in circulation. Meanwhile, 500 and 1,000 should leave the circulation. We battled with that up until February, where it was in the screen of television, where somebody somewhere in Abeokuta said pressure Tiwa, and we all knew what that meant. It became a slang of some sort on social media, and people still stay with those today. And we continued into election. And whether election was free and fair is another conversation. We're not here to discuss politics. So after that, a president emerged. Of all the major candidates were hoping that somebody will emerge, a president emerged. The president read out of his speech, spoke outside his speech that subsidy removed. What he did not know is that economic policy is like playing snookers. When you have the white ball, you have to eat your own ball into several pockets. Now, if you finish before your competitor or your counterpart, then you have to eat the black ball. It is not good enough that you have potted all your balls, but you must pot the black ball, not just anywhere in a specific pocket. Unfortunately, President Tinubu is aiming at pocket 3, and the ball landed in pocket 4. Instead of saying that is better, the subsidy removal concerns is putting many into poverty, deprivation, and hunger. It is taking significant part of people's income. That was said. In June again, President Tinubu also said it's important for us to unify our currency. Rather than Naira getting unified, it gets seriously devalued at official rate from 400 to 800, a parallel market rate from 600 to 1,200 as at the figure reported yesterday. What does that mean? Everything that has to do with import that is relevant to our economy, it is slashed into 2. Where do we therefore go from now? We saw the president quickly appointed his ministers. I think less than 3 months, he has appointed his minister. And we have seen the minister taking some decisions that are critical to the growth of government and to the growth of the economy. So a number of other things that have happened. We have seen central bank that have made policy and reverse the policies that has been made even by the previous person in authority. I'm speaking to the acting central bank governor. But the point we are now, we are back in scarcity, where we started. If time permit me, I will look at some other things that are taking place, within. And if I have time, I will also say the implication of some of the policies that have happened within the year.
All right. Some of the implication of the policies that happened during the year, we look into that. According to that state of the state performance, fiscal performance, released by budget, which you said many organizations have worked on that as well. You have, we'll have it very shortly on our screen now. According to the fiscal performance ranking 2023 by budget, from number 1, you have Rivers, Lagos, Ebonyi, Kaduna, Anambra, dotted, they are written in green. And of course, the other states, Edo, Ogun, Kano, Cross Rivers, Kwara, Osun comes at number 11, and then you have the rest of the state. What's the significance of this ranking, Mr. Alaje?
The significance of ranking has to do with states that have been able to balance a number of things. So when you look at the ranking, you want to check when you look at their fiscal performance, when you look at their debt burden, you also look at their dependency on FAC. So there are a number of things that budget has put together, such that if FAC goes on strike for the next 3 months, will this state survive? With the devaluation of currency that has happened now, all of them owing in hard currency, including Osun State that is owing $99 million, and that is not all we are owing as a state anyways. It means that to pay back, it is now ×2 of what it used to be because of devaluation of currency. Now, the federal government has ensured that all the states are now earning more money. But when you compare the more money we are earning vis-a-vis the cost of service and repayment of loan, then you know that you might be receiving from one hand and losing from the other hand. So you've seen different states, you know, in different positions. We have debt ranking, we have overall performance, you know, that has been rated from yellow to those that were in green. But generally speaking, I must tell you, we don't have sufficient states that can survive without the federal government. But what I can tell you again is that opportunities abound in all of these states. As a matter of fact, the top 11 states have no business borrowing money anywhere. They have no business having revenue concerns. But we must see government beyond, you know, just coming to office and the shenanigans and the jubilations of victory or losses. It must get to a point where we must see government as business and ensure that we take the business to a point where we can deliver our people from penury and hunger.
All right, Mr. Alaje, such an elaborate explanation there. Still on the performance, state performance, I'd like to look at the budget report on the state's performance on Index A1, which says that states that rank higher that have been able to significantly grow their internally generated revenue year on year and are progressively reducing their over-reliance on federal transfer. You have been saying that states go cap in hand to the federal government to get, you know, their own monies, but then budget has been able to ascertain that there is a slow progress, albeit whatever slow. For some states, we have Ogun topping that chart, Kaduna, Bauchi, Rivers, and Osun at number 5. Osun at number 5 on that particular ranking. I'd like you to expatiate on the pace at which these states have grown, because in your explanation earlier, you said that these states still rely heavily on federal transfers. But with this particular ranking, how have these states grown? Focusing on the 5 major states, Ogun, Kaduna, Bauchi, Rivers, and Osun, it's actually striking that noteworthy that Lagos is on number 8.
Okay, so this ranking is not talking of absolute term, it's talking of relative term. So if you're a state that have made 1 billion and you have increased your revenue by 100 million, that is 10%. A state that make 100 million and you have only increased by 12 million, that is 12%. So budget is ranking those who have increased percentage-wise.
Okay.
By no matter the amount that their base amount is what they are ranking. So, but you need to look at those in reality of poverty that is in those states. You need to look at it in terms of financial demand that is in those states. So it is commendable that some of these states have actually tried to improve in terms of what they are doing, what they were earning in terms of IGR. But when you look at this IGR, you know, as it is stated by a number of other organizations that have reported these same reports, you know, that have targeted the same intention in making this report known to the public. The truth is that most of these states can do more than what is done. So we must first commend the effort that they have tried to improve their IGR for 2022, not 2023, their IGR for 2022. But we must also put in place how to ensure that the revenues that come to them even grow significantly more than what we are discussing right now.
So what do you consider the bane of progress on this state to actually generate the revenue internally? You said that a lot of states have mineral resources that they can actually trade with and be okay without the federal intervention fund. So what do you consider a bane of progress when it comes to states looking inwards and generating revenue by themselves, for themselves?
Okay, first, what I consider the major bottleneck for them is the collection methods. So there are a lot of leakages. I've worked with a number of states, and I can tell you that there are a number of leakages. There are still places where people go to people's shop, they tear receipts for them. I have argued, and I've also presented to a number of subnational, that revenue should be collected 100% on online basis, or going to the bank and making your application available, making your evidence of payment available online. That is the least of the electronic means we can use. But the best will be you generate a code online, make the payments, immediately the state can account for what the revenue is as of that day. 2, get some professionals around the state or around the country, as the case may be, to provide this advice and support the civil servant in ensuring that these revenues are remitted. The professionals themselves must not now become what I call bottlenecks, or what I call a bus stop, or a toll gate. That's a proper word. They should not become a toll gate, where rather than promoting this revenue and making it to be seamless, they now start bringing other hurdles into this collection. Number 3 is that the state must understand that for them to maximize this revenue in the portion with which they need them, they must become innovative in nature. There are some revenues that are not collected in so many states, but the states are a bit comfortable, maybe because what you don't know, you don't know. So they need to go back to R&D and find out how can we generate more revenue. For instance, FCT and the FCT and Lagos State, there are some revenues they are collecting that is not collected by the remaining 34 states or 35 states. They are not collecting them. So how come FCT started collecting this revenue last year? Because of some advice that were given to them, and they looked at what Lagos State was doing. Osun State could also generate from that particular revenue window about 3 to 5 billion naira. How come Osun till today is not generating the same? The same with Oyo. Oyo State is also not generating. Oyo State could do about 4 to 6 billion naira. That's about 500 million naira extra every month.
All right.
So there are revenues that can be generated that are completely oblivion to the states. There are some that they are collecting. The collection method should change. There are some that corruption is not allowing it to get to the votes. These are things that I believe states can do, and you can even improve more than deliver more in terms of infrastructure for the people of the states, of several states.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Alaje. Please hang in there. We'll come to Dr. Omotosho. Thank you for staying put. Looking at the state of the state performance, fiscal performance, just like I said before Mr. Alaje came on, that most of the times we place more emphasis at the federal level, and making the state to look like they can't do more than they are doing. Like that's all that they can offer, to pay salary, pay infrastructure here and there, and then the governors in this state will be praised. Now, looking at that fiscal performance information released by budget, it has Rivers, Lagos, Ebonyi, Kaduna, Anambra in that order, or states that are doing well fiscally. Just like Mr. Alaje said, that if actually they are not getting FAC, they'll still be comfortable. What's your take on that?
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I'd like to thank Mr. Alaje for his deep analysis. But let me say straight away that a system that practices the same thing, that produces a negative effect the previous year, should not be expecting something positive. We are just, the budget reading is a ritual, and they follow the same system. The narrative has not changed. And apart from that, the year we are discussing, let us look at the state of the state. State of the state in capital letter. And when I say state of the state in capital letter S, I mean the federal. The federal is degenerating. Seriously, in terms of performance, in terms of productivity, in terms of, economic indices and the rest of it. Now, when you look at that, whatever happens to the state, the federal level, affects the states. Now, the states of the state, small s for state now, I'm talking of the state now, the states and the federations. Yeah. Now, you don't expect much from them. We are running a rent economy. A rent economy where a governor goes to Abuja every month to collect money. So the governor doesn't think. Nobody is thinking. They are not resourceful. They are just waiting for the rent to come every month, spend it the way they like, and forget it. Now, the only system that can make us resourceful is a system where the states are accountable and transparent, and they are resourceful in a way that they have to provide for their own people, determine their own minimum wage, determine the revenue that comes to their state, exploit the resources in their area for the benefit of their people. Now, we have about 68 items in the exclusive legislative list that has been reduced by only one item in terms of energy, the last since 1999 to date. That is not a defined. And so you have all the resources in all the states. Mr. Alaje mentioned Nasarawa with about 30 minerals. There is no state, there is no federal, there is no local government in Nigeria that does not have a mineral resource. They even have many. I used to give the example of Ondo State. So Ondo State is in that number 5 or number 6. Now, Ondo State has the highest concentration of bitumen in the world and is not being exploited because the governors, succeeding governors are only waiting for rent from Abuja. And where is this rent coming from? From crude oil. So we concentrate on that. Apart from that, the states can't perform because the leakages here and there are so much. Now look at the revenue generation you are talking about in terms of even tax. Look at US. If you get to US today and you want to buy anything, you must buy with your credit card. And when you buy, you pay with your card. When you pay with your card, it is automatic. It's digitalized that the payment, what is due for the organization goes to the organization. The tax you are supposed to pay goes automatically to their federal government. So you can't evade tax. So the only thing government does in the US is make sure that you must register your business. In this place, it doesn't happen like that.
Dr. Omotosho, sorry to Borty, the fact that states always wait for the fact, every month, does it stop them from being creative? Does it stop any governor or,
yes,
in their state to look inward? Mr. Alaje just talked about a particular tax, being collected at the FCT. We wouldn't know, maybe that applies to other states as well. Can they still be creative?
No.
While they are still waiting for fact?
They cannot be creative.
Why
because
so?
The humongous amount of money coming from the federal one makes the governors lazy. Because all thinking faculty ends at the governor's table. That is one.
Is that humongous? Dr. Omotosho, is it really humongous?
Yes.
6 billion, 9 billion.
When the state governor is earning in the last few months, don't you see state earning 27 billion, 18 billion, 17 billion? Why should the governor think, just wait for your commissioner for finance to go there and collect the money and you spend it? Apart from that, to actually, be resourceful now, in terms of getting new ideas to improve your revenue, you have to spend money. They don't want to spend the money because they are not responsible. How do you make them responsible? You can only make them responsible if, the facilities in the state, the governor in the state is responsible for all the activities of his state in terms of security, in terms of payment of salary, in terms of development and the rest of it. And it's not collecting any dime from anywhere. Rather, they are paying a little in terms of royalty to the federal government. If that happens, there will be a change in the narrative and everything will change. During the Fourth Republic, what did we have? We have a situation where the states, embark on peer review mechanism because each state is responsible for its own affairs. And that was why Awolowo was able to build the story building in Ibadan, the first television station in Africa, and so many other things like that. And Awolowo was even lending money to the federal government in terms of, loan. Not only that, he was the first person to pay the highest minimum wage in this country because of the resources in the state that he could exploit. That time, they were not collecting money from anywhere. When you have a child that you give all the money, everything this you provide for him, why should you think? I was watching a film when the father was telling his child, look, you have to start thinking. And the boy answered him, Dad, think? Why should I think? When you are doing all the thinking and you are doing all the working, all the monies are coming from the federal. We have to change this narrative.
All right.
And how to change this narrative is to restructure the economy. The economy must be restructured in a way that, restructuring must come in a way that states must be made to be resourceful and to be resourceful and be accountable and transparent.
All right.
Now, if you look at the year in review you are talking about, we started with all sorts of problems. I think we'll get to that because the year was an unbearable situation for so many people in terms of the economy. The economy nosedived, insecurity became worsened, corruption became worse in this previous year. And when you have all those kind of leakages, how do you expect the states to perform? Everybody, if you look at the leakages in the state, does not even give room. All the monies are being stolen by those who are in charge. And development is weak, and then poverty is increasing. Unemployment is increasing. inequality is being widened.
Yeah.
And so, in this kind of situation, how do you look at the year? Maybe we'll get to that. You realize that we are degenerated
we'll get to that.
To a level that is not bearable.
Yeah.
All right, Doctor. Thank you so much. We move over to Mr. Alaje. Do we still have you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, so Mr. Alaje, there have been advocacies in many quarters calling for the restructuring of the economy, just like Dr. Omotosho said, calling for true federalism. Let Osun Gold be for Osun. Let Port Harcourt Oil be, Rivers Oil be for Rivers. Let Ondo Bitumen be for Ondo. By that way, we will have states who will think inward and generate revenue for themselves. Some people give an example of Lagos State when their allocation was stopped by the then president Olusegun Obasanjo. They said the governor as a then former governor Tinubu, who is now president, was able to look inwards and generate revenue for Lagos State, and Lagos State actually survived without the allocation from the federal. I would like to get your own reaction to that, where you stand, really.
It's important for state to be independent, but we must also compare very carefully. When you look at Lagos and the rest of the states, Lagos have the highest number of industry. Lagos have the seaports, even though there are other states that have seaports, but Lagos seaport is the most functional as we speak. So in terms of revenue, more businesses are around Lagos State. What most of the states have not done is to make their state viable for business. When you want to generate more revenue, you can only generate more revenue from a productive place. So most of the states are not productive. Remove civil service and public sector from most of the states, then you have zero. In some places, you will have negative. Because even the small businesses that are around, they are there to serve the public servants, majorly. When salaries are paid, people feel it in the market. That is not a proper economy to run. We must allow the economy to run without necessarily focusing it around civil servants. So if we don't, then it's going to have a number of challenges. Lagos is cosmopolitan. It did not start like that. So how do we lift some of the states? I think that is where our attention should be. If you look at states that are even closer to Lagos, most of them, apart from maybe one, that is annexing agglomerative economics of the presence of Lagos. So many others are not. The question is, for the huge population, about 26 million we have in Lagos, who is feeding them? I give you an instance, and let's make this a bit practical.
Yes.
Osun State have huge plot of land. And I just want to show you the relationship that you can have between Osun and Lagos. Lagos has huge population. Lagos cannot farm in the canton Osun would do. But can we become more purposeful as a state? And I'm using this because of the place of broadcast or Ondo State. And say we want to feed half of the population in Lagos in the next 3 years or in the next 4 years. By organizing a plantation where people in Lagos, and deliberately create a center in Lagos where some of these output will go. I give you an instance. The Lagos State government just commissioned a center where raw fruits can go to and be purchased in Lagos State. And our governor now partner with the governor of Lagos and say, you know what? I want my state to supply you 100% of everything that will be sold here because we brand it Osun. What do you think will happen to farmers in our state? What do you think will happen to the economy of the state? What do you think will happen to the revenue of the state? It is when we see ourselves beyond colleagues, governor, and we see ourselves as business partners for the benefit of our people. That is when we can have the growth that we all expect to have as a state. So some of the states must understand that they are not Lagos and they are not the FCT. The federal capital is not with them. But there's something they have that other states don't have. Their comparative cost advantage. Then I go to the mineral resources. The mineral resources is spread all around Nigeria. I agree 200% with Mr. Omotosho. But those who have strategic, they are already seen. If you are earning 10 million naira today, it will show your attitude. And you don't have to work for 15 million to come next month, and the month after, you can earn it for the rest of your life. You don't have to work again. You suddenly realize that work is not necessary, and you may not want to even progress, working. This is the reality of our state. There is no component of the revenue that goes to the state that is attached to performance of that state. Even states that are collecting extra revenue, it is because production of because exploration of crude is happening in their states. It is not because the state has a unique performance. Revenue is a function of performance. If I don't work today or say next month, I will not earn. I believe it's the same with Mr. Omotosho and the two of you in the studio. Even the cameraman, if he says he's going on strike, how will he earn? So, but all of these are applicable in private sector. In public sector, whether you work or not, revenue must come. Whether you work or not, because we have voted for you in the last election, you must earn. Whether they work or not, your appointees must also earn. Therefore, the brain will not work. I give you an instance. Go to some part of the world now. You will see cold all over, 8 degrees, -2 degrees, snow everywhere. There is no way those countries will not become productive because of survival. They will find science for their survival. They will develop in terms of their intellect. Come to Africa, where the weather is almost good all around the year. Where do you see development? Because people don't think. They believe the nature has given them everything. Oh, our soil is good. We can plant everywhere. We can do this. We have crude oil. We don't even need to have the equipment to extract the crude oil. We call the chevron of this world to come and do it for us, and you expect us to grow. No. It is because we have abandoned the place of knowledge. We have abandoned this place of wisdom. That is why hunger and poverty is reigning supreme. They are reigning supreme in our economy.
All right, Mr. Alaje. Let's talk about our spending priority, Mr. Alaje. I looked at this report. I'm focusing on the Southwest now. The expenditure, the level of expenditure is really higher than our capital spending. I think it's only Lagos State that has its capital spending higher than the expenditure. For states like Osun, Ondo, Ekiti, Oyo, they spend more on the recurrent expenditure than the capital expenditure. I'd like your take on that. How can states actually move away from spending on recurrent expenditure and focusing on capital expenditure?
Well, it has to be deliberate. Government has to pay those he has engaged in service. And it must also keep those that are productive. Those that are not productive, is important they do away with them. We cannot continue to keep the old baggage and expecting economic miracle to happen. But government must also generate more revenue so that they can vote more into capital expenditure. When you look at most of the states with not less than 70% recurrent expenditure, go to those states, you will see a mismatch in terms of development, and potential for growth will be missing. This is what Nigeria has practiced in the last 10 years. Capital expenditure has not been more than 30%. Maybe in reallocation 31, 32. Later it will drop again to 20-something%. And you are wondering why we cannot build our roads. So the same is the same reality. Go to Lagos State that voted more to capital expenditure. One, because it's earning more and is the most indebted state, both domestically and foreign loans in Nigeria. So, but the state understands the importance and has an economy that can support this. Economy of other states can also be developed, but the leaders must first become purposeful and realize that they sit among opportunities, and maybe this will be a wake-up call for others, because voting more to capital expenditure and eliminating wastages is important. But what we've seen is that recurrent is easier when you make budget, and you see even the minimum amount they put in capital expenditure, it is not guaranteed that the budget will perform 100%. All right. In some instances, budget will perform 80%, 70%. What we suffer? Capital expenditure. All right. That is why when you look around the states, what you have seen, you may not see a new road being constructed. What you see is patch and fix for most of the places. You may not see most of the new schools being constructed. What you see is mere renovation. Meanwhile, there are still schools that needed more things that we are doing. You may not see major improvement in terms of health. How many health, primary health and secondary health have been improved all over our states in the Southwest?
All right, Mr. Alaje.
Very limited number.
Yes, we understand you have to go, but if you can do this for us in 2-3 minutes or thereabout, let's look at this year, 2023. You are hinging on that in your introductions, the policies of the government and how it has played out. Advantage, disadvantage, most of them are being said by the handlers of the government that these intentions were noble, talking about the Naira redesign, the cash crunch we experienced during the year. In fact, unfortunately, we are back there right now. The redesign of the Naira, the intentions behind it, doing more of electronics transaction more than the cash, and the removal of the subsidy and the attendant effect, the palliatives by the government. Just if you can do that for us in 2 or 3 minutes, how has it helped or how has it affected us all year round?
Benefit of subsidy removal, it gives more revenue to government. The demerit is that most of our people are struggling because they cannot compete with the rest of the world. We are made to buy fuel higher than is happening in some of the countries we want to call developed. But our people are broke. They are worse in terms of revenue and in terms of income. There is no way we can ask Anthony Joshua and Debo, Mr. Macaroni, the popular comedian, to combat in a boxing tournament. I have said time and again that policy should have come when local refineries made available. One, because it would have saved us from devaluing the Naira. I remember I spoke with one of your colleagues, another Mr. FEMI, and I mentioned that for that policy to be promoted, we must ensure that we are not going to have devaluation anytime soon. To make matters worse, we remove subsidy and we devalue at the same time. I believe the authorities are now learning from the so-called combination of policies, and they are looking at how to make it better. And by the way, government has also promised that refineries should become functional, even though 11 times different 11 officials of government have promised that the Port Harcourt refinery become mainstream last year, later this year, by December. We understand that work has significantly grown on that refinery, but as I speak to you, it's still not able to produce. This year, we saw President Buhari launched Dangote refinery. Whether that refinery will give us the first PMS is a different conversation entirely. And World Bank had warned or stated in June that President Buhari parted Nigeria with a gift of 4 million people added to poverty line by May 29, 2023. And that President Tinubu, because of the policies, may add additional 5.1 million. That report was published in June. You can look for World Bank report on Nigeria, published June 2020. June 2023. That President Tinubu may have 5.1 million if there are no sufficient cushion effect to some of the policy. This year, unlike many other years, governors shared bag of rice for 2 billion naira each, according to the report that is available from government headquarters. 2 billion naira. And I believe that by now the rice should not have finished. And I don't know if my interviewers still have the share of their rice available. But I can tell you that we cannot want to run economy properly, and at the same time, we are making it like a charity economy. It doesn't work. We have to stay on one side. We have also seen, maybe I should anchor on this, that those that we trusted or we elected as a result of trust and they have been appointed, they are a major part of our problem. President Tinubu did something that shocked many, and maybe not so surprising to others. He brought in an investigator to look at the books of the Central Bank of Nigeria, because we have seen conflicting reports from the audited report to the Central Bank report, and also international organizations report. An auditor came and investigated the activity of Central Bank, and we saw how over 600 million were withdrawn from the Central Bank account without the authorization, allegedly, without the authorization of the then president. We have seen billions of naira taken over of banks. Honestly, this is matter that is still trending, and it is what we should see. If those reports if those things, the things written in the report, if they are confirmed, I tell you, the evil day is not here yet. It's still ahead. And we need to do something very quickly to make policies to save the soul of Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria suffered a lot this year because of inflation from 21% when we started the year. We are ending close to 30%. I used to tell people the inflation is now taller than the Cocoa House in Ibadan. And we have also seen that the growth that happened this year was a bit slower than next year. And this is an election year. And of course, pre-election year to election year used to be the year where Nigeria has the highest number of growth. But unfortunately, this year and part of last year proved otherwise because of so many challenges that the country faced. So will I say that government have done 100% or they have done 0%? I think the answer is available to those that are watching us right now. If you're a Nigerian, you ask, am I able to afford what I could afford, this time last year? Am I better off in terms of inflation? Am I better off in terms of hunger? Am I better off in terms of my personal economy and my affordability of things? Then you will know whether the economy is better for you or is worse for you. Thank you so very much. Compliment of the season once again.
All right. We want to sincerely thank you, Mr. Alaje, for your time. And talking about the Jimo Bassey, the special investigator, investigating the CBN, God willing, we'd like to have you next week. By the way, next week will be next year to share your thoughts on some of these concerns. Thank you all year. Thank you for being part of the program this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Paul Alaje, financial consultant, chief economist, SPM Professionals, joining us live virtually. I will pause now, take a break. When we return, we'll focus on other matters. What has happened in this year 2023, yes. And of course we still have Dr. Omotosho right here in the studios to help us do justice with some analysis. Do not go anywhere. On Spring, we'll be right back.
All right, the rest of the year, from January to December, and here we are. We took it from the economy point of view, and let me start with Dr. Omotosho from that point. What would be your assessment of the policies of the government all year? We started with the Naira redesign. That was late last year, spanning into this year, and we knew what people went through. Unfortunately, we are back at that era, almost back, if not 70–80% of what happened at that time. The removal of subsidy, the flouting of the Naira, and many things that has happened in the course of the year. If you can do that in a minute so that we'll move to other aspects.
I need to start by saying we need to understand the nexus between the economy and politics. This 2020 started with politics, and then we started with identity politics. Identity politics in the sense that we cannot even identify what the politicians told us they want to do. We're busy with Milokan as an identity. We're busy with Muslim ticket as an identity. We're busy with Northern Agenda as an identity. We're busy with the Eastern generational change in political terms as an identity. Those are the things that took our time. And so, because of that, we couldn't hold our politicians responsible, accountable to what they intend to do for us. Now we move from pillar to post, because immediately the president was sworn in, he threw the first shot by saying subsidy is gone without planning. No planning at all. He was the only person in government that time. There were no ministers. He went further to say he's floating the Naira without ministers. So you didn't discuss with anybody. You used just one man, pronounce a policy that has a multiplier effect on everything. And that is why government has been running from pillar to post since that time till now. So inflation came here from hyper to galloping. And then at the end of the day, the government can't cope. They are not bringing in policies, fire brigade approach that are not supposed to be. How do you, in this 21st century, start distributing cash to individuals that are supposed to be made productive in their various areas of skill? We are giving them cash 25,000. I was giving 35,000 naira. Now, it's not enough for me to even buy fuel for 1 week.
So you got your 35,000?
I got 35,000. I never get the balances there. And then, that was not reasonable, because you must empower this, you must identify the skilled people, you must empower them, and that is when the economy can become productive. Again, look at how inflation is going. When you look at the year, you look at the Naira design, everything was politicized. The Naira redesign was here, brought hardship to all Nigerians, and we have not got out of it up to now. When this president took over, he took over all the problem. On the tripod of their policies, you look at insecurity, it has got worsened. You look at the economy has nosedived. Inflation is unbearable, never 28 or 27%. And then you look at, poverty. We are increasing. Mr. Alaje just told us that this immediate past president and this president has increased poverty by about 9.5 million people. So we are the poverty headquarters of the world. That is unfortunate. When you look at corruption, corruption has become so it's palpable. It's getting worse every day. And an economy that has all these kind of leakages cannot improve. Our productive capacity is being weakened every day because of the floating of the Naira that has put all productive people into a very weak corner. Because everything you do now, prices are skyrocketed. And Nigerians are not buying. I was in the petrol station yesterday and I asked the man, my friend, that, are you making more profit? He said, no. They are not making more profit. People are not buying more because we have moved from 185 or 165 Naira per liter to 650 per liter. And we are thinking of 750 per liter. And then when you put the cart before the horse, these are the problems you face. So they have not run the economy properly. They are expecting positive results where they have not put in positive actions. And these positive actions can only help us to improve.
Yeah, you've already, let's move to the elections right now. You've hinted on it earlier. Many persons have said the 2023 general elections possibly was the most intensely run. Speaking about the kind of votes garnered by the contestants. This is the first time we're having like 3 horse race. President Tinubu excess of 8 million. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar almost 6.8, 6.9 million. P2B 6.1 million. Rabi Musa Kwankwaso of the NNPP over 1 million. And many persons said it is the most intensely run kind of election, looking at the controversies, everything that led to that election. How will you rate that election? And we have to do this a minute each so as to manage our time. And how has it affected us so far? And does it show growth from what we've had from 1999 to now?
No, that election dragged us back 10 steps. The expectations were high and they were dashed. Even the expectation of the outgoing president was dashed. The outgoing president sat in a convention where money was being distributed, raw cash in dollars, and he was helpless. That defined the election. I've told you here that we played identity politics. Issues were not discussed. And so when we have a winner, again, the Constitution allowed the opponent to go to court, and they went to court since, and then prevent governance, and then at the end of the day, we have the result, and they said the president has won. Everything INEC told us, based on the 305 billion Naira they spent, were destroyed through what they call glitches. And then when you have glitches, people lost hope in election. People lost hope in the political system. And so it was, even though we have a winner, people were disenchanted, people were discouraged, and then it doesn't help us. And then we spend so much money on litigation. But
were those glitches enough, Doctor, sincerely, to invalidate the whole process?
It is not. It's not a matter of invalidation. If you look at, we are coming from a background of Jega, we move a little bit forward. And then from the information put in the public domain before the election, we realize that we are going to move further forward. And then instead of moving forward, they use the word glitches. And that glitches cause all sorts of problems here and there. And that's why I said it was an identity politics that doesn't help the nation. Now, we have to review our electoral system now. We have to struggle more to convince Nigerians to be interested in being part of our democratic process, because people are just discouraged. We have a winner, there is no doubt about that, and the winner has emerged. Even the Supreme Court has pronounced the winner as the winner. That election made more Nigerians to lose more confidence in the judicial system again, not only in the electoral system, in the judicial system, and then in the governance system. So if that happened, I wouldn't say that election has moved us forward as before, because during Jega, we even have more hope. If you look at this last election, we have more litigations than the previous one. That is not supposed to be the case.
All right, Dr. Omotosho, let's talk about coups in Africa. In the last 3 years, we've had about six coups in different countries. We have had in Mali, we've had in Guinea, Sudan, Chad, Burkina Faso, and the latest being Niger. And we've also had 3 failed attempted coups in Africa. Do you think democracy is on trial in Africa?
Well, yes, it is, because our leaders are not playing the game according to the rule. You can imagine Nigeria, if not because Nigerians are determined they don't want coup. We don't want coup here. Nobody wants coup. Coup is no more in vogue. We want democratic. They say the worst military government, the worst democratic government is better than the best military government. We don't want coup. But look at Nigeria. A Nigeria as big as we are, that we have to go to Supreme Court at the 11th hour to define whether federal capital territory is important to be won or not. All these kind of things discourage people. And you see where the argument was going that time, that was dividing Nigeria. This last election divided us more. Now, in most of the West African countries where this coup has taken place, it is because of bad performance by their government. Stealing, outright stealing. Don't call it corruption. Outright stealing. You have people who are richer than their state. And then corruption, and then, lack of empowerment. People are getting poorer. Education has become worst in most of these states. And that is why the coup people, the military people are intervening in those countries.
But
and again,
looking at these West African states, are the military any better?
If you look at Niger Republic, you see that the economy has shifted. It was improving since, because the world powers were behind most of the things that were happening in most of these countries, like Congo, like Niger Republic, and the rest of them. They exploit their raw materials and give them stipends, which is not good. And then they were not allowed to actually run. We have political independence without economic independence in most of these states. I think that is what defined what was happening there, and then coup has to take place. But I must warn that we don't want coup in Africa again. Africa should not be notorious, particularly West Africa. We should not be notorious for coup. You can see that, we must continue with the democratic process, and we continue to improve on it gradually. It is better than military. The military regime is a dictatorial policy that nobody wants. Here, we can talk the way we are talking. Under Babangida, you can't talk the way you like. Under Abacha, you can't talk the way you like. So we want democracy, but our democracy must be a benevolent one. The one that can provide food for the people, the one that can empower the people, the one that can improve our educational sector, the one that can improve our health sector, the one that can improve the society generally. Look, I used to say that only 4 things government needs to do. Government needs to provide security. Government needs to pay their civil servants. Government needs to provide roads. And then government needs to maintain the society. Are we doing that? We are not. Look, just 3 days ago, I was reading China. China has just developed one transport system now. It's a boat that moves like a train. And it's very, very good, and it can carry so many people at a time. Can we do that when our roads are not good? Meanwhile, we have highly talented Nigerians who are here, who can develop more things and design more things that are better than that. But the roads will not allow us. Why is it difficult that all our roads should be tied? Because we are a rich country.
All right.
And as rich as we are, all the developed countries you see, what you see there mostly is that all their roads are tarred, and because of that, infrastructure is provided, and people can walk, and then you can define what you want to do.
All right. Dr. Omotosho, now, looking at what has happened so far, let me quickly take you back to politics before my colleague will take you from there. We have had the off-season election in Imo, in Bayelsa, and Kogi. How will you describe those elections?
Well, those elections, to me, they are
just few states,
and
in which people expected INEC to deploy all his strength and might to manage a very credible election. But what would be your assessment of that election?
They did their best like before. Their best is never our best. That is the problem.
But many will say it's not only INEC that are involved in an election process. The
police,
the security agencies, the politicians themselves, who make things difficult.
You are right. And that is the problem we have. When we talk of all these leakages, is because the systems that work in other climes, why are they not working here? we don't have leaders who are ready to lead. We don't have leaders who are transparent and accountable. We don't have leaders who are ready, to actually define leadership properly the way it is defined in other areas.
Doctor, are the people really ready?
The people
Let me ask you, are the people really ready? Because I'll give you an example. You have sincere politicians, young people, great minds, and people that people have seen that they have done well in their endeavors, come into politics, and they come to you in your street, sell you the ideas, but they are not parting with something. They are not giving money. They are not sharing umbrella. They are not giving you rice. And people will say, this one will enter. No, you only enter your room.
That is because...
Is it about the system or we, the people?
That is because, no, it's not the people, it's leadership. Our problem here is leadership. And because leadership has weaponized poverty, because they have weaponized poverty, everybody wants what he can eat. Somebody who wants to vote, he has no money, you give him money, he will vote for you. Now, how did it work in the First Republic when people will vote and then they stay by their vote and then it is done? How are they doing it in the other countries? Our politicians have weaponized poverty to the extent that our electorates have become weak. It is quite unfortunate. We need a leader that can take us out of that wood. It's a big problem. That is the real problem. If you don't have money, you can't even contest election with your good ideas. If you have good ideas and you don't have the money to run around, you will fail. Right. Here, it is a big problem until leadership must be properly defined. And I expect the narrative to change from Tinubu, because Tinubu has been in this game for a long time. But unfortunately, he is playing the game as usual, and that will not help us.
All right, still let's stick with politics since we are there now. One of the issues that shapes this year 2023 politically is the issue of godfatherism.
Yes,
I mean,
it's still there.
President Tinubu is considered a godfather.
Yes.
In fact, he was said to be a kingmaker that became a king. And we also saw what happened in Rivers State with the current governor, Oluyemi Omotosho, and the minister of the FCT, who is a former governor, Minister Wike. We also have seen in many states, I mean, of former incumbent governor bringing in someone to say this is my anointed candidate and this person must win. We saw that in Kogi State with Governor Yahaya Bello. I'd just like your thoughts on it very quickly, touching on this.
Well, it's just
things.
a negative trend, like godfatherism and stomach infrastructure. These are the things that actually bastardize our electoral system. The electorates are interested in stomach infrastructure. Give them money, they vote for you whether you have good ideas or not. The godfathers are there to bring out all the money and then buy all the votes. There is no, what we call no program. It is clients, and it is unfortunate. As long as it continues like that, there can be no development, because when a politician gives you 5,000 naira to vote for him, you've earned your pay for the next 4 years. And that is unfortunate for us. Until the electorates realize that they have to empower, the power they have is that they are voting right and that they are card. Once you can vote bad leaders out and install good leaders, but not when the electorates are ready to be compromised. Everybody is compromised. I'm sorry to tell you this, because in Nigeria, if you don't have money, you can't make any progress. And it's not supposed to be like that. It is supposed to be that, are you qualified? If you are qualified, we put you there. What you see is that they put people who are not qualified to contest for elections, and then they say go to court. Even when you are rigging openly like this, the person rigging will tell you, well, I'm rigging, go to court.
Dr.
And then the court will be waiting there for you to declare justice the way they like. All
right, so I'd like us to narrow in on these three states. What happened in Rivers, Edo, and Ondo State. Let's begin with Rivers State. What happened in Rivers State?
The Rivers State was an embarrassment. Of course, you don't expect Fubara, not to be subservient to Wike. Wike bought all those who are in House of Assembly and all those who contested election in that state. Wike paid for their forms. That is one. He funded it. Mind you, the present governor in the Rivers State was the Accountant General of the state. He was not a politician. He was a civil servant. Wike wanted him, and so he disturbed, debarred, and prevented all the politicians from participating. He installed the person he wants as his godfather. It is because they have a little disagreement now. And why was he doing that? He's doing that because he wants the Accountant General to cover his records. And then that is still the corruption.
That's what you think it is?
That's why should you go and bring somebody who is a career civil servant? He's not a politician. And you install him, you impose him on your people, and you say whoever doesn't vote for him, you are going to deal with him. And like I said, they have weaponized poverty to the extent that even those who are supposed to be top politicians, when they give them more money and they promise them juicy positions, they go along the line. You know, our electoral system has to be seriously looked into. Right, if you look at Edo, it's the same thing that happened. And then when the governor now gets there, the governor now is in charge. And the unfortunate thing is he wants to put his foot down, he wants to do what he feels is right, and then there is disagreement. This disagreement does not allow dividends of democracy to flow, and then this disagreement is what we'll be battling with for a long time. The president has to come from his Abuja, call them to a meeting to settle that crisis. How many will he settle? You have this problem here. You have the one in Ondo State where the governor, the deputy governor was almost impeached until the president has to intervene too. Where is our system? Which will allow our institutions to work instead of worshiping individuals. Right. And not until we do that, we continue to move from pillar to post and continue to complain. Development cannot come here except politicians are determined to actually allow development to come. They steal all the money, through corruption and the rest of them, and we see them and nobody is asking questions. Yeah. All this money they are throwing up and down during election, where did they get it?
Dr. Omotosho, quickly, one particular phenomenon, I call it a phenomenon, that has plagued this year. Many will say it's not new, but it really got really bad this year or worsened, is the Japa syndrome. You know, the majority of young people are moving out in droves, especially our critical sector, talking about the medical sector, health sector, even in the education aspect as well. Many lecturers have moved out of the country. In fact, some of them go for education, for one cause or the other, and they never get to return. You know, these are some of the things we've seen. Japa syndrome in 2023.
It is unfortunate. Japa syndrome.
And this December period,
yes, Japa syndrome is a loss of confidence in our governance system. People are hopeless. There is no hope. What do you expect them to do? You graduate from a school, you can't get a job. You are doing a job, and then as if you are not even working. Your salary is not enough. We are still paying 30,000 as minimum wage now. In the midst of this terrible inflation, how do you cope? Look, I've got offers to move. I didn't move because of one thing or the other here, and possibly because of my immediate family. Now, everybody that gets offers will move, because if you are paying me about $10,000 per month, compare that to here. Why should I stay here? So now, the best brains in Nigeria are moving to other places, and they are being celebrated there because government has not made this place conducive for our graduates, for our youths to actually exhibit their talents and assist in the development of this economy.
Do you see it stopping soon?
It can only stop with good governance. It is done by rhetoric. Good governance. The productive sector must improve to the extent that productivity will increase, and you must start engaging the youth, you know, as they are graduating. Look, as I'm talking to you now, they are looking for people in Canada, New Brunswick in particular, to come and work in agric, in health, in education, and the rest of them. They are looking for people to work. Now here, we have no place for them to work. So why should you stay here? These are the problems. Meanwhile, our economy can cope with our population. Our population is 200 million. That is a very, very big asset. Again, if you deploy that population, it will increase our productivity and will be good. Again, we have resources here. We have the land, we have everything where we can deploy these youth where they can be productive. But government is not thinking of that. All they do is read the budget, get the money that will go to their pocket, and forget everybody. And when you forget everybody, what do you expect them to do? Now, I taught a boy who walked to me and said, okay, look at my beard. He has developed beard that he can't cope. And he has gone to Canada. And a very brilliant boy, a first-class boy.
And then what has his beard got to do?
He's getting old. That is the point. He has not married. He has no money to marry. And I said, you are good, come and teach here. I said, no.
Right.
He has just got somebody who has helped him to japa, and he has gone.
Very quickly, because we are out of time.
It's unfortunate.
Let us gallop into other issues. Another issue that shaped public conversations and opinion this year, 2023, is the war on Gaza, which was ignited on October 7 when Hamas attacked Israel. At the moment, tens of thousands of people have died. Journalists, women, children have lost their lives in this war. Do you see this war ending in 2024?
Well, it will end. This is part of the instrument the powerful nations are using against the weaker nations to exploit their economy. You know, that war in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, is an unreasonable war. Very, very unreasonable. A nation, a sovereign state, you have the capacity and the right to join any organization it likes. That is one. Two, no nation has the right to start imposing war on another nation. Where is the United Nations? What are they doing? United Nations is behaving as if it's a dog that can just, they can bark and
they
can
bite.
Talking.
They have been meeting.
So they once they want to take a decision in the Security Council, somebody will veto it, including the Russia that is fighting the war. And so this does not end, this does not actually promote, unity, peace that the United Nations is trying to promote. The war in Gaza is an unfortunate war. Now, it's like Israel was waiting that let these people attack us, and they made that mistake. And you can see the kind of attack Israel is imposing on Gaza and West Bank is not commensurate with what you say the mistake they made on February 7 when they attacked Israel. I mean, Israel has gone beyond reasonable level in terms of that war, because children are being killed, women are being killed, civilians are being killed, and it is quite unfortunate. And what are they fighting on? They're fighting on land. Okay. These are things, I think, ephemeral issues that can be resolved on the round table. All
right, Doctor, before we won't finish the conversation without looking inward. We've talked about Gaza and Ukraine, the security challenge in Nigeria. Just a few days ago, scores of people were killed in Plateau, same in Adamawa, same in Taraba, same in Sokoto, and it seems we are helpless.
Yeah, I've told you that, this president is moving from pillar to post because there were no planning. If there were plannings and expecting him to be prepared for this job, why are we getting it worse now? Because the situation is getting worse every day. Since he came, I've not seen any major pronouncement from him on security.
But when he came, he met with security agencies. He had a series of meetings.
What happened?
He told them his intention.
What happened in Plateau is unacceptable, and it is happening every day. In fact, let me tell you, kidnapping has moved to Abuja itself now, the FCT. It is quite sad. And so the president has to sit tight. Now he has ministers. It's not a one-man show again. He should call his group together and they should discuss and then provide solutions to all these problems. That is what is affecting our productivity. When people can't go to the farm, when people cannot stay in their industry and work, productivity will reduce, GDP will go down, and then our naira will become very, very weak. What can strengthen our naira is productivity. But can people produce when there is insecurity? Look, you can't travel from here to Kano or to Kaduna or to even Lagos without reading the maybe Psalm 23 or Psalm whatever, and reading the Quran regularly, because everybody is scared. And I think it is the responsibility of government to provide security for all of us.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Omotosho. It has been a wonderful conversation with you. Dr. Omotosho is a public affairs analyst. He is also a lecturer. Thank you for this year. You have been a worthy analyst on our show.
That's right.
For this year, and we cannot thank you enough.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for always having me. It's a pleasure working with you. You are doing a good job, and God will continue to strengthen your effort. God will continue to bless the station and bless the owners and bless the employees.
All right. Okay, people. And that's how we draw the curtains for today, for this week, for this month, and for the year 2023. It has been indeed a great year, irrespective of the economic downturns and the challenges that we have faced as a people. But we look at the brighter side, and we know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. My name is EVELYN OHIOLEI. Remember that you can watch a recap of this edition on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. Connect with us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and X at Western Spring Television. Have yourself a good day, a wonderful weekend. See you next year.
All right, see you next year. The next time you'll be seeing our faces will be in the new year. God willing, God helping us. Thank you for staying with us all year. We really, really do appreciate you and your support here on Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, channel 190 on Star Times, DTT. Have for yourself a very rewarding weekend, and of course, enjoy the rest of the year. And of course, in all you do, be good and of course, show help